Jovanni Garcia. We appreciate you making time to talk to us on the GoTennis podcast. I will start with our most obvious question, which is, Jovanni, who are you and why do we care?
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate being here and being able to talk to you guys. Well, my name is Giovanni. I'm an ex tennis player, rec tennis player who found the game of pickleball and just fell in love with the competition and the connection that it makes. I play, of course, recreationally, but I do also play in a tournament here and there for pickleball. And I'm always tinkering with my gear. And I started paying attention to paddles, the way they felt, and then the performance because I love how just a racket or a paddle can change your entire game. And I just really enjoy like the learning and the sharing with the community, which is what I love about the pickleball community, like we're all willing to learn and share with one another. So
All right. So, and you're a player, but you're also kind of a techie. So you're into the equipment. And so that's a little bit of why you're here, which is what are you working on in the industry? You're more than just a player now. You're an expert in equipment, right?
yes, well, I'm trying to be an expert in the equipment side. There's still so much to learn with the new paddle technology that's coming out every day. I mean, it's just something new to learn, because you go from like honeycomb cores, plastic, different sizes, different shapes that do different things for the paddle. They open up the sweet spot, they shrink it, they make it harder, softer, increase dwell time, decrease dwell time, and then all of a sudden, boom, full foam came into play, and then you had to like really dive into soft foam versus medium stiffness foam, and then like hard foams that have an array of complications within themselves. So, because if you put a little bit here, a little bit there, it makes it off center and creates more power on one end compared to the other. And it's just, yeah, I love that stuff.
And you were doing that for tennis rackets before you switched over to pickleball?
Yes, yes, I was. I had always wanted to kind of start a review channel for tennis rackets. But I mean, it just got to the point where there was just new rackets coming out so often that even I couldn't keep up. And I really did love playing with them, adding weight here and there to see what was better, depending on the stiffness of the racket, how it felt in my arm. Because I actually tore some ligaments that connect my clavicle to my shoulder. So I'm actually pretty sensitive to tennis rackets and like the stiffness and the string. Same thing with pickleball paddles. Like depending on how much vibration is actually coming through the handle, my wrist could hurt, my elbow could hurt, my shoulder could hurt. It's just, you know, uh, tinkering with the paddle so much. Now I know where to put certain things. And I was able to help like some people down at my local pickleball courts. I was able to say, hey, well, put a little bit of lead here or put a little bit of tungsten on this side, whatever you like. Because then there's that whole debate about tungsten and lead and health and this and that. So
Of the tungsten and lead debate, honeycomb versus foam core, pickleball paddle technology. Bobby, do you have any idea what he's talking about?
A lot of this stuff when he was talking about the pain and I just thought he was getting old.
Well, there's that.
I have all those issues every day, so I was like, "Okay, it's no big deal here."
Well, and
well, yeah,
that's the getting old
that
part that we
exactly.
understand, but it's the expert, and we've talked to experts previously. We have a racket tech, part of a little extension of our inner circle, who can personalize racket technology for you and say, hey, this helps your game. But there also
Mhm.
is, like you said, Giovanni, the injury side, the injury prevention side. This just feels good, or that feels good. And Bobby and I are, tennis first. Bobby probably prefer to be tennis only. And I know he outsources a lot of the pickleball stuff on that side, but it's really interesting to those of us in the racket sports world because we say, well, we know how tennis racket personalization works. We may not be experts at it, but we get, put weight here. This makes it a little heavier there and does this and does that. But pickleball paddles are very different than tennis rackets, but the sweet spot works similarly, meaning the weights still change and you have the head sizes. That's all still similar, correct?
Yes, that is very, very much similar. And just like in a tennis racket, you put weight on the four corners, and you open up the sweet spot. Same thing in a pickleball paddle. It's pretty much the same principle. So, and then you have the same wants and needs as a tennis racket. Oh, I like head heavy. Oh, I like, head light. I like even balance. It's pretty much the same kind of tinkering, except for with a paddle, it's just shorter than a tennis racket. So you might not need as much weight, and you might want to like pull down the weight from one side, a little bit further and things like that. So
Got it. And there's no restringing. So Bobby and we can completely change the feel of a tennis racket. You can make it
exactly.
extremely different based on what you put in the middle of it. But with a paddle, the middle is the main bit, right?
Pretty much you're stuck with what you got, so you better enjoy it.
Exactly.
But
So
then,
tell
but
us,
then again, you can always change like I said, you can add a little bit of lead tape here and there, and it does change the feel that you're
Mhm,
getting off the paddle. So I mean, it's not a tennis racket, but it's close.
gotcha. So Bobby, you got any burning questions about the equipment world of pickleball?
I think just a curiosity. I've heard that like the shelf life of a good pickleball racket in the hands of a good pickleball player is a year that they can break. Is there any truth
Oh,
to that?
yeah, I mean, yes, there is. Yes, there is. I know a guy at my court, and I mean, he smacks those balls. I mean, he's hitting it at 120%, and he can snap the handle right off, and which he has done. And he's only had the paddle maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months sometimes. So the only good thing is that they have really good warranties.
Yeah, because I
It's
mean,
like
I
the
had a tennis player
shoe
who
warranty, right?
yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I had a tennis player who was a mason, and he literally had the ability to generate enough force with his hand that he could break just a stress break in the throat. And then I heard that, I was like, well, it makes sense if people are swinging that hard, but it changes the dynamic of the game. And, like Sean said, we complain about having to restring, there's a $40 expense, but there's a new racket expense every 6 or 7 months. That could get it to be a pricey sport.
Yeah, it can. It can. Like in the beginning, when I first started pickleball, I was like, oh, this is cheap. I can go on Amazon, get an Amazon paddle for $20, and then just go start playing. I already had shorts and clothes, and to get a ball is what, $10 for a pack of three, So, I thought it was gonna be cheap, but then all of a sudden I started playing and I was like, hey, I want to get better. And then I'm like, oh, you mean that I have to pay 200 plus? Oh, okay. Let me see what I can find for 100. So that's
So
how I
now we got
kind
to
of like
go pay Ross.
dove into like all the different types of paddles because I was like, well, okay, so I can't really afford the $300 paddle, but let me see what I can find at my price range.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell us, and you're doing a lot of reviews now. So tell us about your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so my channel focuses on like fun, friendly, and honest paddle reviews. When I started getting into pickleball, I pretty much realized that there were a ton of new paddles and a lot of marketing hype, but not much feedback from like everyday players. So now I didn't find a lot of like people who were rec status that were talking about their paddles and whatnot. A lot of it was, hey, check out this $330 paddle. It'll do everything for you. And I was just like, well, I'm not in that, I can't afford that price range. So what can I find that works for me? So then I started looking into smaller companies like Kiwi Labs, I mean, who's ever heard of them? But they make quality paddles. You know what I mean? And the guy's out of Michigan. He R&Ds all his own stuff. He takes his time with his R&D, and he puts a lot of passion into what he does. And I've gotten four of his paddles, and I love every single one of them. And guess what? The most expensive one was 100. And I'm out there on the courts beating people with two, three, 350, who spent that much on their paddles. So that encouraged me to want to start the channel and then just try to create more of a fun, friendly type of review style as well.
You say that, and it makes me wonder: are there really boring, dishonest reviews? Like, is that a thing? You have to differentiate yourself by saying this is an honest review, or are you saying you're unpaid and you're in the market for a sponsor for some paid dishonesty? What's going on there?
I'm paid doing this for fun.
Bobby and I have spent plenty of time reviewing and doing plenty of content, realizing that the only reason to lie about something is if you're getting paid to lie about it. Otherwise,
Right.
I would hope it's all an honest review.
Exactly. And that's why in the beginning, all my reviews, everyone that I did, I would always reach out to like an ambassador or somebody who promotes, like somebody local that promotes that particular brand. And I would say, hey, what's your discount code so I can throw it on my thing so that way you can make some money from people possibly wanting to get that paddle. So like I really am trying to be as honest as I can about both my feedback and helping out others who are actually trying to make a career out of selling paddles or being in the pickleball industry.
Well, Bobby, let's make sure we get him all our discount codes because it sounds like he's just giving away money at this point.
Well, I'm curious about one thing with the gentleman in Michigan. Does he manufacture in the States?
Actually, no, he does not. He does
Okay.
get his stuff from, I believe, China. So,
I was gonna say with tennis,
but
it's
yeah,
everybody talks about, well, there's probably four places that manufacture tennis rackets, so you're gonna get some incestuousness, if that's a word, in your tennis rackets. They're getting made in the same places, and they're all being made with the same stuff. So, like Sean said, to dramatically say one is better than the other, they're all pretty similar. There's weights and stuff like that, obviously, but they're similar. The other question, real quick, Sean, if you don't mind. Well, with a tennis player, I'll sit there and say, look, I want you to swing at least 10.4, 10.6 ounces. Heavier the better. Is there for a starter pickleball player, like I said, Sean said, I work at a place that does offer pickleball. I have people that do it, but if they ask me the question, I have no idea. Is there a weight that you sit there and say, all right, this is where my starting off point is? Obviously, it's going to be dictated by how much you're willing to spend, but these are some good specs to look into.
so the question is, what's a good weight?
I mean, what would you tell somebody? Weights, obviously, I know that they're getting different handles. There's the actual strike zone is changing. There's a lot going on with
Hmm.
pickleball paddles from where they started. Would you tell somebody, hey, this is a good entry spot?
If I would like, for example, if I was talking to somebody coming from tennis, I would say, hey, you need to get an elongated paddle, which is 16.5 inches long, and you're going to want the width to at least be 7 inches, or I'm sorry, 7.5 inches to about 7.6. And then depending on what their style of tennis racket is, like let's say they like it head heavy. Well, then I'd be like, okay, well, this brand has a head heavy elongated paddle. Then I'd say, hey, your tennis racket, are you swinging 12 ounces? Are you doing 11.3? Are you doing 11.5? Are you doing 10 ounces? Or are you just crazy and doing 9.5? You know, like, because I know some people like that extra light feeling, and then their tension is at like what, 25s, just so they don't have to swing hard and they got a bazooka in the strings. So it's kind of like that, the same thing. But as a general paddle for somebody coming from tennis, I would recommend 16.5 inches, 7.5 inches wide. And then if they have a Tui or they use a two-handed backhand, I would recommend something that where the handle length is 5.5 to 6 inches long. So that way you could fit both those hands on there when you're doing your backhand. So swing weight, I mean, you can always bump it up if you want, but generally they're all around 110 to 114. And then you're gonna find that like the twist weight is gonna be kind of in the 5.5 range to possibly 6. So I mean, you're gonna have some give and take there, but generally elongated. And then I would recommend a 5.5 to a 6 inch handle for somebody coming from tennis. And I would kind of keep them. And typically, the weight of a 16.5 inch paddle is going to be around 8 to 8.1, or to 8 ounces to 8.1 ounces.
So, Bobby, I like that idea of transitioning in and saying, okay, what are you used to from your tennis world?
Hmm.
And we'll get you into that from a pickleball perspective, get you playing a little bit, and then decide, okay, well, I'm going to make my adjustments as a pickleball player now that I am one because I've been playing pickleball for 30 minutes. So clearly now I'm a pickleball player and I can then adjust from there. But I like that idea. What are you used to from tennis? Let's get as close to as we can to that concept, get you in, then we'll get you into something else. Now we've just sold 2 rackets to the beginner, even better.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Somebody who's not like tennis based, I would always recommend like a wide body paddle.
that's my
So you're
next
gonna
question.
get
What about somebody who has coming from, I don't play racket sports, you just got your neighbor, come on out here. Here's a paddle, whack the ball with it. You hand them like, is there a beginner paddle or is there just a beginner price point?
I would say there's a beginner price point. Because I mean, let's say so if their budget's $100, I mean there's like 50 to 60 paddles that they could choose from. All of them are really good, but typically I would recommend a wide body paddle just because it has a high twist weight, so it's not going to rotate in their hands. They probably don't even know what a tui is, so the handle is going to be 5 to 5.5 inches. So like they're gonna play one hand everything. The paddle's gonna be nice and wide. It's gonna be a little bit shorter. So your elongated is 16.5, and then your wide bodies are gonna be 16 and below. So basically like 16 to like 5 or like 15.6, somewhere in there. That's where you're gonna find like a wide body. And it's just gonna help them because you're getting so much surface area. It's kind of like an oversized racket, right? Somebody who's not going to find the sweet spot all the time, somebody who's going to swing probably a little bit slower, not have those fundamentals, not have those mechanics, and then boom, you give them that nice oversized racket, tighten up the strings just a little bit, and hey, they're good to go.
Sounds like Bobby's every Tuesday. Familiar with that concept. Okay, I appreciate that. And what's the name of your YouTube channel? We'll make sure we link to it in the show notes, but make sure you talk about how people can find you.
Well, yes, sir. That is Salt and Pepper Pickleball on YouTube. And then on Instagram, I am Salt, the letter N, Pepper, PB.
So I got to ask now, where'd the name come from?
My chin hair.
Chin hair is the basis for the name.
Yes, my wife's always like, I love your salt and pepper. I love your salt and pepper. So I was like, Salt and Pepper Pickleball. There we go. Because
I
before
like
that, it was going to be like Tropical Pickleball Channel or something like that. And then I heard Salt and Pepper. I was like, yeah, there we go.
That's it. That's good. All right. Well, we need to we need to move to the next thing. Bobby, what you got anything else for Jovanni before I hit him with King of Pickleball? All right. So Jovanni, I sent you this ahead of time. Hopefully you put some thought into this, and we ask this at the end of almost all of our conversations. But we would like to know if you were king of pickleball. So this means whether it's social pickleball, just Atlanta, where we're based, or the whole world, or professional, any scale you can picture, any scope. If you were king of pickleball, is there anything you would do or change?
And if I were king of pickleball, I'd love to see more transparency around and consistency around like equipment, such as like swing weight balance and specs that matter a lot to players. And then I'd love to see for the rec community side, I'd like to see more courts coming out, but there are more courts, so that's always a benefit. And then just better etiquette with conversations between players on the court, and just more people having fun without feeling intimidated. Walking onto a court and everybody just wants to play. Less clickiness, I guess. If I could do something, that would be one thing. But I just want the store to like stay competitive. I just like to maintain the social vibe that makes that makes pickleball special. So I think that's what I'd do if I was king of pickleball.
I love it. All right. Well, Jovanni Garcia of Salt and Pepper Pickleball. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Instagram. Thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate it. Bobby, as always, thanks for being here. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.